Hey everybody, this is the first. Hey everybody, all right, there we go. Got the live stream going and the very first myth busting Monday. That is a mouthful, but it's also a series of conversations around how we can demystify digital money. And it comes on the heels of oops, I hear my live stream in my ear, so I'm going to take that out so that I can talk to you. The wild and wonderful ways of recording. All right, so I started this series so that I can connect with folks for about 30 minutes each Monday to kind of do a rundown of what's going on, some of the things that you need to pay attention to, and also to pick one specific myth that is pervasive in the crypto community so that we can start to demystify this information. And I was inspired to do it because of the book that I have written that's coming out on October 24th. So take a moment and save the date, and also visit digitalmoneydemystified.com in order to stay up to date on everything that's happening. I'm going to have a lot of virtual events, a lot of free events, some giveaways, some informationals. So this is a really exciting time. If you've been on the sidelines or you were in the crypto space and then got out, you were concerned about the crypto contagion of 2022, with a lot of high profile things going absolutely wrong, a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, sometimes intentional, sometimes the reality of just a new and emerging asset class. So I just wanted to spend some time to help you demystify, help you understand, and I'm going through the final page proof of my book. I'm really, really excited about that. So I'm going to, oh, that looked like it had no pages. Wait a minute. It's not one of those situations where there's nothing written on the page. Oh, there are actually lots of things written on these pages, and my publisher wants this back in a couple of days. So while I'm going through it, I thought it was a good time to start to highlight some of the things that I've covered in the book. The book, again, is titled Digital Money Demystified. And I wanted to share with you first, just from the table of contents, that focuses on 12 chapters. 10 of them are deep dives on a myth. At the beginning of each chapter, I share a myth, a fact about the myth to demystify or bust the myth. And then I take a deeper dive, giving you my own anecdotal information, my crypto journey, the things that I used to believe, the ways that I educated myself so that I could move more safely in the space, and also to empower others. I created the Advantage Evans Academy for free master classes and courses and higher level engagement, both for traditional investors looking to learn more about the crypto space, but also professionals, the corporate executives and leaders and lawyers and financial professionals who really need to make sense of the space, because they need to be, I'm a lawyer and a law professor, need to be in a position to empower our students and clients and colleagues and workforce and our partners as we move into a transition from Web 2 to Web 3. If you are not preparing to pivot now, ask Blockbuster how that went when they didn't pivot when Netflix was nipping at their heels. All right, so this is the opportunity, particularly in a sideways market where the prices are moving sideways. So we don't have a hype cycle. We don't have fear of missing out. There are some opportunities, and this is always a great time in the crypto ecosystem just to learn, to figure out the language, to figure out the regulatory environment and the risks and the rewards. And so I'll list the 10 myths that I address in the book. Well, the first chapter, let me say this, is separating fact from fiction. So I talk about my rabbit hole experience. I talk about the myths that I used to believe and the misinformation that led me to make poor choices, my journey to learning more, creating the first online blockchain, crypto, and law certificate program at a law school. And that really began my journey But the myths that I moved through, probably the same types of things that you did. So the myth that crypto is too volatile, or that crypto is only for criminals. Chapter 4, the myth that crypto is just one big scam, all 30,000 plus coins and tokens, just one diabolical plan, and there's no good at all in the ecosystem. Complete myth. Crypto is bad for the environment. That's also a myth, and I right-size that. That's not to say that there are not concerns with energy consumption, particularly for proof of work protocols. That's a bit of jargon that if you don't understand what that is, definitely go to digitalmoneydemystified.com, and you can have access to a glossary, a quick start guide, a short fundamentals class, online as well, masterclasses, challenges. You can get that information for sure. But that's an important one to work through and to right-size our understanding of the impact on the environment, and to compare apples to apples, to compare a worldwide system. Sometimes you hear the energy consumption of Bitcoin, which is a global protocol, to a particular country. That's not an apples to apples comparison, and that skews the results as well. So I spend some time walking through that, listing some of the concerns and also some of the opportunities in the blockchain and decentralized web space, where I have a lot more hope that we can cure some of the systemic problems that are lending to environmental concerns. I have far more confidence in those who are working really hard in the Web3 space than I do given where we are right now. Story for another day, because today we're spending 30 minutes just hitting the high notes. I'm setting the stage and encouraging you to join me every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Times for 30 minutes. I'll talk about whatever's in the news. We'll take one of these myths in particular, take a deep dive, and really start to unpack, and then I'll answer your questions as well. All right, the next one is the myth that crypto is anonymous and untraceable. Chapter 7 is blockchains and cryptocurrencies aren't secure. So there's a lot of security concerns, particularly when we hear so much about large-scale hacks. More often than not, that is an issue with a centralized exchange where people are sending their fiat, which is government issued currency, the dollar, the yen, et cetera, pound. And they are sending them onto an exchange so that they can exchange Bitcoin for Ethereum or the US dollar for a stable coin, something like that. That's a centralized entity, and they are ripe with potential issues and hacks, et cetera. Someone is attempting to hack my email or my social media account every day, but we don't throw out social media. Some of you might want to, but we're not going to do that. And we certainly aren't doing away with electronic mail, even though many of you are not opening your emails these days. Who can be bothered with the phone and email at this point in time? But the fact is that blockchain protocols were actually built for security. There's some scalability concerns. If everybody started using Bitcoin tomorrow, that would be a huge problem. There are a lot of solutions, Lightning Network and other things that are being built to help scale the environment, but scale the protocols that will allow more people and more transactions as we have greater adoption. But security is hardwired in, and I talk about that in my course, From Cash to Crypto. I cover it in the book as well. And so over these weeks, as we do our Mythbusting Mondays, I'll talk a little bit about it and hopefully encourage you or inspire you to start to take a deeper dive and learn more here. You could also subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube right now. Definitely subscribe to this channel so that you can be apprised every time I go live for these Mythbusting Mondays. You can also sign up to come inside with me to the Zoom room. When I have folks in the Zoom room with me, I'll answer their questions as well. Try and keep one eye on the comments. Here, we also have crypto is unregulated. So there's some truth to gray areas or completely dark areas where it's very difficult, if not impossible, to figure out what the rules and laws are as it relates to crypto, because it's a different asset class than other capital assets. I'm speaking here specifically in the United States, where we have, legislative bodies. We have the, Congress, for example, at the federal level, responsible for empowering or limiting the power of agencies in the second branch of government. It's the executive branch. So we have agencies like the Securities and Exchange Commission, we have the Commodity and Futures Trade Commission, so the SEC and the CFTC. We have issues that have to be addressed with Treasury, so that involves the IRS and other agencies responsible for keeping the money supply safe, and also balancing the risks and rewards and protecting consumers and investors, and actually the money supply of the United States. That is not the interest of Bitcoiners and other folks in the crypto community, but that is the charge of the government. But there are some gray areas. There are some landmark cases that have just come down the pike where the SEC, for example, is believed to be acting outside of the scope of their authority, regulating by enforcement, by suing folks or entities, some of our best-in-class operators. It makes me think of Coinbase, for example. Ripple just had a fantastic win against the SEC. We have the SEC standing or blocking exchange traded funds, which would encourage a lot of liquidity for the spot market for Bitcoin. It's likely that we'll see an ETF approved in the next 18 months, to be sure, maybe 6 months, time will tell. But with a spot market Bitcoin ETF, an ETF for Ether is not far behind. I've already started to read some of the progress on that front. So it's not a matter of if, but when. But we want to have clarity for an entire class of innovators and business owners and investors, so that it is absolutely clear. So we don't have to wait for the SEC to decide that it's going to sue on an entity by entity basis, rather than promulgating rules that would apply to the entire ecosystem. So when you hear people talking about the absence of regulation, the lack of clarity in certain areas, and then kind of the stick method of not being clear, but then suing and hoping for a result that we see with the SEC, that isn't going so well for the SEC. That is the type of concern. And I talk more about the origins of that myth. And in light of a recent testimony that I did back in March of 2023 before the House Financial Services Subcommittee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Inclusion, I talked about the realities of the regulatory morass, and the difficulty and inefficiencies in the United States, and how we're just driving business overseas. And that is not the ideal result for the United States or for the ecosystem. Next, we have that crypto is too complicated and difficult to use. Now, I started learning about this space in the fall of 2017, really started to develop my sea legs, my proverbial sea legs in the space in early 2018, when I went over to Thailand to teach and train lawyers in Southeast Asia about the intersection of intellectual property and blockchain and crypto assets. And when I think about where I was 6 years ago, given in comparison to where I am now, I didn't know a tenth of what I know now, but I knew more. I knew 10% more, or 10 times more, excuse me, maybe 10%, a lot more than the folks who would fly me halfway around the world to teach them. That went on to doing similar trainings at the World Intellectual Property Organization. There's just always something to learn. And each time you learn one thing, that gives you the confidence to go on. I'm not a technologist, I'm not a financial guru, but I am now the advisor to the advisors, because I was able to do the heavy lifting earlier, the intellectually curious, and really start to lean in and accept that we were living in a completely different world. The fact that this, the world, really, I was about to say the United States, but the world will change more because of technology and increased global connection will change more in the next 2 years than in the previous 10. And when you think about these cycles of innovation historically, it used to take a long time, thousands of years to hundreds of years, from hundreds of years to decades, from decades to years, from years to months. And so we're not going backwards, we're moving forward, but it's still really early. And so that's why it's so important to start demystifying the space, getting comfortable with the language, getting comfortable with the opportunities. Lack of information doesn't keep you safe. Being informed and deciding whether or when to buy crypto, for an example, as an investor, whether or when to begin in-person trainings with your colleagues and your workforce, leaning in and learning what the legal and regulatory risks are currently, and how to problem solve as a lawyer, as a legal professional, as a professor, and certainly as a financial professional. When spot ETFs in the crypto space are approved, you have to know what's going on. Your clients are going to come to you. Your colleagues are going to come to you. Your supervisors are going to come to you to try and make sense. You need to be the smartest person in the room. Even if you don't buy crypto as an investor, you have to start thinking more. You have to be more savvy. You want to claim this first mover advantage. You may not become an investor in the short term, but you certainly will have the opportunity to start to pivot, start to learn the intersection between your particular area of expertise and also the ways that you will start to develop your own workforce. So this is really, really important, and you really want to lean in and best understand what is going on in this particular space. And so I just want to make sure that you are up on all of the definitely up on the contents in the book, that if you don't have the book yet, you absolutely want to get this book. You want to start to dive in, read the background on how I even entered this space. It's a fantastic story. So this is not the type of thing that gets in the weeds of the technology. There are a ton of resources, free and otherwise, to teach you how to create a cryptocurrency, what a block is, what a block reward is. And I have an extensive glossary here and a lot of pullouts and explanations. But at the end of the day, this is the book that you read before you read the others. This is a book that you read before you start investing, or this is the book you read when you're coming back or want to move further up in terms of your continuing crypto education. So I call it CCE, your continuing crypto education, so that you can get what you need to succeed in the space. And also that you really start to separate fact from fiction, because this is a really, really important opportunity to start to move forward and get ahead of the curve. One of my favorite myths to demystify in the space is the idea that crypto is only for criminals. I certainly believe that in the beginning, and that is not to say that there is not a criminal element that will always be attracted to opportunities to learn, not to learn, to scam. And I actually will take this moment to warn you about so many imposters and scammers on my good name, trying to trade on my good name and reputation, and those others like me who are in the education space. I am not investing for other people. I do not slide into your DMs to say, hey, and what's up? And would you be interested in Forex? I don't even deal in Forex. And a legitimate person is never just going to go out of their way to slide into your DMs unannounced to invite you to this awesome opportunity where you're going to 100x your investment if only you would send them some money. It kind of sounds like the early scams, and I don't know, like the scam from yesterday when you open up your email and someone tells you to click on a link, or there's some king of Zamunda who is writing you and saying if you just give out your bank account information, that they're going to send you some money for some reason because it's a scam. All right. So in order to really avoid that, and this idea of getting rich quickly. I'm all for getting rich quickly because the alternative is getting rich slowly or not at all. So I'm not a fan of those two, but I'm also not a fan of scams. And so if you want to start to develop your financial literacy and financial freedom muscle, you really have to lean into education. So being uninformed is not protecting you. Being informed, being knowledgeable, being plugged into very trustworthy resources so that you can do your own research and make good choices. That doesn't mean you're going to not make a mistake, but you don't want to fumble the ball unnecessarily. We don't want any, in the parlance of tennis, shout out to Coco Golf. A fun fact, I used to play professional tennis, so this has been quite a time for me, but we don't want any unforced errors. No unforced errors. It is already challenging enough to avoid those who would scam you. Let's not get an unforced error. Let's not be the one car on the street that's unlocked to make it easy for somebody to steal your car, because criminals are actually lazy. They're looking for the easiest route, and they are constant. Like, they have time. We're out there, we have jobs, we have responsibilities, we're living the good life. Criminals are sitting somewhere and they just have time. They only have to be right once. We have to be right and protect ourselves 24/7, 365, all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. And so Digital Money Demystified is exactly that type of book. I want to share a couple of the early reviews of the book, because this is a really exciting time. Now that we have the layout, I'm doing the final read through. Looks amazing. And I'm really excited to see all of the enthusiasm for Digital Money Demystified, where some of the folks I have the greatest esteem for. Makes me think of Professor Michelle Neitz at the University of San Francisco School of Law. She's also the founder and the academic director of Blockchain Law for Social Good Center. And she says, Professor Evans is an international expert who breaks down the technical, consumer, and legal issues related to crypto in an entertaining and simple way. This book's practical approach and focus on economic empowerment addresses the myths we see about digital money and explains why they are just myths. With easy to read explanations grounded in thorough research, Professor Evans offers valuable insights for anyone wondering how digital money will change the world. I think the world of that review, and I'm so excited about it. It makes me think of another person who I have a great deal of admiration and respect for, Caitlin Long, who is the founder and CEO of Custodia Bank, one of the OGs in the space, one of the smartest people I know. And she had this to say. I won't read the whole thing, but just a bit. Professor Evans brings in Digital Money Demystified the clarity of a gifted teacher who makes a complicated topic accessible. And she goes on to say, along with her congressional testimony talking about when I was before the House Financial Services Subcommittee, it will help policymakers in Washington, D.C. recognize that they should let this technology develop in a lawful way. And I 100% agree that the whole purpose of this Digital Money Demystified project, the book, the companion website, these weekly 30 minutes of power to really connect with you and to see what questions, comments, issues you have. And also, as we go forward through the weeks, to talk about what's in the headlines. So I'll start with some of the top things that you need to know or watch out for the week. Anything that's come up that I feel needs a deeper dive in terms of Digital Money Demystified. We'll pick one of the myths in particular, and I'll say a bit more about those, and also let you know what's going on my podcast, which is Tech Intersect. I have a companion series that's going on at techintersect.buzzsprout.com, or you can find Tech Intersect and search Tech Intersect in my name in your favorite podcast app. Do it for Apple, Google, etc. And each week I take a deep dive with often in conversation with others where we're flipping the mic. So folks are coming on and they are reading or picking a chapter in the book and they're asking me questions about it. So it's a really exciting opportunity to actually ask some questions. Sometimes people don't even know the questions to ask. They just want to listen. And so the podcast is a great opportunity for you to do that as well. But I always like to come on live and to connect and to let you know what's going on IRL, in addition to the podcast that's a pre-record, generally speaking. I think as we get closer to the book release date, and again, save the date, it's October 24th. That will be the official release of the book and also the official opening of the companion website. So what's going to go, let me, in the minutes that we have remaining, let you know what's going on at the, I should say, companion website. And basically it will, anytime there's an update to the book or an interesting question that I will start to assemble frequently asked questions, you can go to Digital Money Demystified and get those questions answered. There are opportunities for you to take or start to build a foundation of learning. So maybe you've gone to a free masterclass and now you want to, kick the tires of a short course, or maybe get access to an updated glossary. I have a glossary in the book, but there are new terms to be added all the time. This is a space that moves really, really quickly. So I wanted a great balance for the book that has certainly the foundations that will be evergreen, but also certain things that change. The technology continues to be updated, the various tools and resources, things in the Advantage Evans Academy that we used to use in 2020, 2021, that we've transitioned to other things in 2023 and beyond. So that should be your friendly companion to the book. Certainly go out, pre-order the book now. You can do that at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any outlet that you would ordinarily purchase a book. Pre-orders are really, really important. It's a signal to the industry that this is the right book at the right time, and that my voice is a necessary voice, again, to kind of cut through some of the noise. We either have carnival barkers that are saying all crypto all the time, or you have the naysayers that are saying crypto is list one of the myths and you shouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And then you have me in the middle. I am a cheerleader and fan of the space. I am definitely bullish, but my only goal is that we don't miss the next opportunity. Think of how much opportunity existed when land was first being divvied up. Like the best time to buy a home was probably 20 years ago. And that's not just, if you're doing it for more than shelter, right? To make a really sound investment. Now, real estate is always going to be important because it's finite. Bitcoin is finite too. It has a hard cap, 21 million. There are other cryptos that have a hard cap and some that don't, but have other reasons for existence. You need to be able to distinguish what's special or not about Bitcoin, what's special or not about ETH. What's the difference between Ethereum and a stable coin and a central bank digital currency, a central bank digital currency and a non-fungible token? We have to become familiar and comfortable with the language of the future, because the future is now, and it is not hyperbole to say that. We're not putting this, this horse back in the barn. We're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. This is it. And we're moving forward, and we can do that confidently when we have a strong foundation from an educational point of view. So definitely purchase the book. You pre-order. Definitely go to digitalmoneydemystified.com, subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube as well, so that you can stay up to date on all of the announcements, and have a lot of specials, some giveaways coming up. I have some exciting programming. I'm really doing a virtual tour because I want to reach everyone everywhere to make sure that we are all on the same page moving forward, because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This is not actually about crypto. Crypto is a tool. It has an energy and a life cycle. It is an asset. But what are we really working on here? We're working on self-determination, understanding our purpose. We're leaning into cooperative economics, collective work and responsibility. These are tenets and principles from Kwanzaa that could be applied to any and everything. And when you think about autonomy, financial privacy, agency, and independence, and really building wealth, it doesn't come from high income, because income is taxed at a higher rate than capital assets are. It's about being strategic and also making headway in good times, quote unquote, and bad, when we're at the height of a hype cycle and when we're down. It's about not being emotional, but being prudent, practical, and clear so that we can move forward. So thank you for joining me for this very first session of Myth-Busting Mondays. This session was intended to kind of set the stage of where we're going. Next week, we will start at the top of the list, dealing with the myth that crypto is too volatile. I have some shorts on YouTube, so you can go to the YouTube channel for sure. You find us there at Advantage Evans on YouTube. Check out all the videos that I have there, some long form, some short form. Don't forget to go to digitalmoneydemystified.com. And I look forward to busting myths every Monday so that we are getting smarter so that we get wealthier. All right. So with that, I'll see you next Monday. Tell a couple of hundred of your closest friends. Come on in here. I'll start answering your questions. You can also follow me on YouTube, but it's better to be in the room where it happens. Hashtag Hamilton, so that when you're here, I can answer your questions and we can go and we can grow. All right. Be good to yourself and others, and I'll see you next Monday.